In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, countless alien races thrive, each boasting unique abilities and strengths. Some were masters of technology, others possessed incredible psychic powers, and a few even controlled the very fabric of space-time. Among this diverse tapestry of galactic life, one species stood out for all the wrong reasons: humans. Humans, natives of the unremarkable planet Earth, were widely regarded as the most pitiful and cowardly beings in the known universe. Their physical weakness, short lifespans, and tendency to panic at the slightest sign of danger made them the laughingstock of intergalactic society. On the bustling space station Nexus 7, a hub of interstellar diplomacy, a young human named Maria Chen nervously made her way through crowded corridors. At just 25 years old, she was the youngest diplomat Earth had ever sent to represent humanity's interests. As she walked, aliens of all shapes and sizes towered over her, their powerful bodies and advanced cybernetic enhancements making her feel small and insignificant. Maria's heart raced as she approached the grand meeting hall where the Galactic Council was gathering. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. It was a futile effort. Like all humans, fear was her constant companion. As she entered the hall, conversations hushed, and dozens of alien eyes turned to stare at her. Some looked on with pity, others with thinly veiled contempt. Maria squared her shoulders and made her way to the human delegation's seat, pointedly ignoring the whispers that followed in her wake. "Look at how she trembles," a tentacled Zorlak ambassador hissed to his neighbor. "I'm surprised they even let her kind off their pitiful rock." The booming voice of High Counselor Xath Krul, a towering insectoid being, called the meeting to order. "Esteemed representatives of the galaxy, we gather today to discuss the alarming rise in piracy along the Orient trade routes. All species have suffered losses, and we must take decisive action." As various alien delegates offered suggestions, ranging from increased patrols to advanced cloaking technology, Maria listened intently. She knew that humans, with their primitive ships and technology, were often easy targets for space pirates. Any solution would directly impact her people's safety. When it came time for the human delegation to speak, Maria stood on shaky legs. "Honorable Council," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "the people of Earth propose." Before she could finish, a harsh laugh cut through the air. Grak Thor, the hulking representative of the warrior Krelnars, sneered down at her. "Why do we waste time listening to the mewling of frightened kittens? Humans have nothing of value to offer this council or this galaxy." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Maria felt her face burn with shame, but she forced herself to continue. "We may not be the strongest or the bravest," she admitted, "but we have faced challenges on our world that have taught us." "Enough," Grak Thor roared, slamming a massive fist on the table. "Your species cowers at its own shadow. What could you possibly teach us about facing real dangers?" The council erupted into chaos, with various factions arguing about humanity's place in galactic affairs. Some called for Earth to be quarantined for its own protection, while others suggested using humans as bait to lure out pirates. Through it all, Maria stood frozen, her prepared speech forgotten as tears welled in her eyes. As the meeting adjourned, Maria slumped in her chair, feeling utterly defeated. She had failed her people, confirming every stereotype about human weakness. As alien diplomats filed out of the hall, many shot her pitying or disgusted looks. Later, in her small quarters aboard the station, Maria stared out at the star-filled void. She thought of Earth, so far away and so vulnerable. How could she protect her people when the entire galaxy saw them as nothing more than scared, useless creatures? A notification chimed on her comm device. With trembling fingers, she opened the message. Her eyes widened as she read its contents. A massive cosmic storm, unprecedented in scale, was brewing in a nearby sector. Early projections showed it could threaten multiple star systems, including Earth's. For a moment, panic gripped Maria's heart. But then, something else stirred within her, a tiny spark of determination. She might be afraid, But she was still here, representing humanity among the stars. And now, facing a threat that could destroy everything she loved, Maria realized that being afraid didn't mean she couldn't also be brave. With shaking hands, but a steely resolve in her eyes, Maria began to formulate a plan. The galaxy might see humans as cowards, but she would show them that sometimes it took true courage to face your fears and act anyway. Little did anyone know, humanity's greatest moment was about to unfold. Born from the very weakness the galaxy despised. The news of the approaching cosmic storm spread quickly through Nexus 7. Aliens of all species rushed through the station's corridors, their usual arrogance replaced by fear and confusion. In the midst of this chaos, Maria Chen found herself summoned to an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. As she entered the Grand Hall, Maria noticed the change in atmosphere. Gone were the sneers and pitying looks. Instead, the alien representatives wore expressions of worry and desperation. Even the mighty Grakthor seemed subdued, his usual bravado absent. High Counselor Sathkrol's voice echoed through the chamber, silencing the murmurs. Esteemed delegates, we face a crisis unlike any in living memory. The cosmic storm approaches, and our best estimates suggest it will reach populated systems within 3 standard months. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing the storm's projected path. Gasps filled the room as the scale of devastation became clear. Entire star systems lay in its path, including Earth's solar system. Our scientists have analyzed the storm's composition. Sathkrol continued. It consists of highly charged particles, gravitational anomalies, and space-time distortions. Any ship or planet caught in its path will be torn apart. The Zorlak ambassador raised a tentacle. Surely our advanced shielding technology can protect us. A grim shake of Sathkrol's head crushed that hope. The storm's energy output exceeds anything our shields can withstand. We need a solution, and quickly. As the council erupted into frantic discussions, Maria sat quietly, her mind racing. She thought of Earth, of her family and friends back home. The fear that had been her constant companion now felt different. It was no longer just for herself, but for everyone she loved. Various species presented their ideas. The Krelnars suggested using their mighty war fleets to somehow fight the storm. The Zorlaks proposed a mass evacuation to the furthest reaches of the galaxy. Each plan seemed more desperate and less feasible than the last. Then, to everyone's surprise, Grakthor turned to Maria. "Human," he growled, though with less contempt than usual, "your kind is always afraid. Surely you must have some experience in facing unstoppable forces." All eyes turned to Maria. She felt her heart pounding, her palms sweating. But for once, she didn't try to hide her fear. Instead, she stood, her voice shaky but clear. "On Earth," she began, "we have a saying. Necessity is the mother of invention. Throughout our history, we've faced disasters that seemed unstoppable. Hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis. We couldn't prevent them, but we learned to survive them." Maria tapped her comm device, projecting images of Earth's natural disasters and the human responses to them. "We built shelters, created early warning systems, and developed technologies to mitigate the damage. We didn't conquer nature, we adapted to it." The council watched in silence as Maria showed them hurricane-resistant buildings, earthquake shock absorbers, and flood control systems. "These might seem primitive to you," she admitted, "but they saved countless lives." Sathkrol leaned forward, intrigued. "Are you suggesting we can't stop the storm, but we might survive it?" Maria nodded. "Exactly. Instead of trying to destroy or outrun the storm, what if we found a way to ride it out?" The idea was met with a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Many council members scoffed at the notion of using primitive human techniques against a cosmic threat. Others, however, saw a glimmer of hope in Maria's words. As the debate raged on, a small group of alien scientists approached Maria. They peppered her with questions about Earth's disaster prevention techniques, seemingly intrigued by this new perspective. For the first time since arriving on Nexus 7, Maria felt a sense of purpose. Her fear hadn't disappeared. In fact, it was stronger than ever. But now it was driving her forward, pushing her to find solutions where others saw only despair. As the council session ended, Sathkrul made an unprecedented announcement. We will create a special task force to explore the humans' unique perspective on this crisis. Representative Chen will work alongside our top scientists to develop a survival strategy. Maria left the council chamber in a daze. She had gone from being a laughingstock to a key player in the galaxy's survival overnight. The responsibility was overwhelming, but she was determined to prove that humanity's perceived weakness, their constant fear and preparation for the worst, might just be the galaxy's salvation. As she walked back to her quarters, Maria's mind was already racing with ideas. The cosmic storm was coming, and now it was up to her to show the galaxy that sometimes the most afraid are also the most prepared. The real test of courage was about to begin. In the days following the emergency council meeting, Nexus 7 buzzed with activity. The space station had become the center of the galaxy's efforts to survive the approaching cosmic storm. At the heart of this controlled chaos was Maria Chen, the once ridiculed human representative, who now found herself leading a diverse team of alien scientists and engineers. Maria's small office had been transformed into a war room of sorts. Holographic displays showed the storm's path, while data streams from across the galaxy poured in continuously. Despite the high-tech surroundings, a simple whiteboard dominated one wall, covered in Maria's handwriting. A mix of English and alien scripts detailing various survival strategies. As Maria studied the latest storm projections, a soft chime announced a visitor. She turned to see Zixera, a Zorlak scientist, slither into the room. The tentacled alien's multiple eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of excitement. Representative Chen, Zixera bubbled. I believe we've made a breakthrough in adapting your Earth's storm cellar concept to work in space. Maria's eyes lit up. Show me, she said, moving to the central holodeck. Zixera manipulated the controls, bringing up a 3D model of a massive space station. We've designed a structure that can house millions. The outer shell is composed of layers of energy-absorbing materials, similar to your planet's atmospheric layers. As the Zorlak explained the technical details, Maria felt a mix of pride and amusement. Just weeks ago, these advanced beings had scoffed at primitive human ideas. Now they were using those same concepts to potentially save the galaxy. Their discussion was interrupted by the arrival of Krav, a burly Krelnar engineer. Apologies for the intrusion, he rumbled, but we've hit a snag with the shielding systems. Maria nodded, unsurprised. Every solution seemed to bring new problems. What's the issue? She asked. Krav projected a simulation showing the shield failing under the storm's onslaught. Our most powerful shields can't withstand the energy for more than a few minutes. We need something orders of magnitude stronger. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Their best technology, the pride of multiple advanced civilizations, wasn't enough. Maria felt the familiar tendrils of fear creeping in, but she pushed them aside. Fear was an old friend now, one that spurred her to action rather than paralysis. What if, she began slowly, we don't try to block the storm's energy, but redirect it instead? Zixera and Krav looked at her quizzically. Maria walked to her whiteboard and began sketching. On Earth, we have lightning rods. They don't stop lightning. They channel it safely to the ground. What if we could do something similar on a cosmic scale? The aliens exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of doubt and intrigue. It's an interesting concept, Zixera admitted, but the scale we're dealing with is beyond anything your planet has faced. Maria nodded, her mind racing. You're right. We'll need to combine technologies. Maybe we can use the Krelnar's energy weapons as giant lightning rods and the Zorlak's phase shift tech to disperse the energy across multiple dimensions. As they discussed the possibilities, more team members joined in. The office buzzed with excitement as ideas flowed freely. For the first time since the crisis began, there was a sense of hope. Hours passed in a blur of calculations and simulations. As the station's artificial night cycle began, Maria found herself alone in the office, staring at the storm's projected path. The fear was still there, a constant knot in her stomach, but it was joined by something else: determination. A notification on her comm device jolted her from her thoughts. It was a message from Earth, from her family. With trembling fingers, she opened it to find a simple video: her parents, siblings, and nephews waving at the camera. Their smiles were tinged with worry, but their love shone through. "We're so proud of you, Maria," her mother's voice said. "The whole world is watching. We know you'll find a way." Tears welled in Maria's eyes. The enormity of what she was trying to do hit her anew. It wasn't just about proving humanity's worth to the galaxy anymore. It was about saving everyone: humans, aliens, and all the countless beings who called this galaxy home. Wiping her eyes, Maria turned back to her work with renewed vigor. The cosmic storm was still coming, unstoppable and terrifying. But with every passing hour, their chances of survival grew. Humanity's greatest strengths: creativity born of fear, unity in the face of disaster, and the stubborn refusal to give up, were beginning to shine. As she worked through the night, Maria allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy was about to learn that being afraid didn't make you weak. Sometimes it made you the strongest one of all. As the cosmic storm drew nearer, the atmosphere on Nexus 7 grew increasingly tense. The once bustling corridors of the space station were now eerily quiet, with most species retreating to their quarters in fear. But in a large hangar bay, converted into a makeshift construction site, a flurry of activity continued day and night. Maria Chen stood at the center of this organized chaos, her eyes darting between holographic displays and the massive structure taking shape before her. The cosmic umbrella, as it had been dubbed, was a testament to the combined ingenuity of multiple species. Its skeleton was built from Krelnar battle alloys, its skin a complex weave of Zorlak phase shift materials, and at its heart lay human-inspired technology designed to channel and disperse the storm's energy. As Maria supervised the final adjustments, she felt a familiar tremor in her hands. The fear was still there, a constant companion, but now it drove her forward instead of holding her back. "Final systems check complete," announced Zixera, her tentacles dancing over a control panel. "Energy redirection protocols are at 98% efficiency." Krav, the Krelnar engineer, nodded approvingly. "Structural integrity is holding. If your calculations are correct, human, this might actually work." Maria allowed herself a small smile. Coming from Krav, this was high praise indeed. "Thank you, both of you. We couldn't have done this without everyone's contributions." A sudden commotion of the hangar's entrance drew their attention. High Counselor Xathkrul strode in, flanked by a group of alien dignitaries. Their expressions were a mix of hope and skepticism as they surveyed the cosmic umbrella. "Representative Chen," Xathkrul's voice boomed, "the Council demands a status update. The storm will reach the outer systems within hours." Maria took a deep breath, steeling herself. This was the moment of truth. "High Counselor, esteemed members of the Council, our defense system is ready for deployment. We propose to position it at these coordinates." She gestured to a star map, indicating a point just ahead of the storm's path. Murmurs rippled through the gathered aliens. Grakthor, the Krelnar representative, stepped forward, his massive frame towering over Maria. "And who will pilot this device into position? Surely not your cowardly species." For a moment, the old fear threatened to overwhelm Maria. But then she remembered her family's message, the faith they had in her. She straightened her back and met Grakthor's gaze. "I will lead the deployment team myself." A stunned silence fell over the hangar. Even Zixera and Krav looked at her in shock. Xathkrul's compound eyes blinked rapidly. "You understand the risks, human. The chances of survival for the deployment team are minimal. Maria nodded solemnly. I understand. But this is our best chance to save not just humanity, but all species in the storm's path. I can't ask others to take a risk I'm not willing to take myself. Grakthor's expression shifted from contempt to something approaching respect. Perhaps we have misjudged your kind, human. But who will join you on this suicide mission? To everyone's surprise, Zixera slithered forward. I will go. My expertise will be needed to manage the phase shift systems. Krav stepped up as well, his voice gruff but determined. Someone needs to keep the structure from falling apart. I volunteer. One by one, other aliens came forward. Scientists, engineers, and even a few diplomats. Each was visibly afraid, but each was also willing to risk everything for a chance at survival. As the volunteers gathered, Maria felt a swell of emotion. This was what humanity had to offer the galaxy, not fearlessness, but the courage to act despite fear, the willingness to face overwhelming odds, not because they weren't afraid, but because what they were fighting for mattered more than their fear. The next few hours passed in a blur of final preparations. As Maria boarded the ship that would tow the cosmic umbrella into position, she took one last look at Nexus 7. The space station that had once felt so alien now seemed like a symbol of unity, of hope. With a final nod to her team, Maria gave the order to launch. As their ship detached from the station and accelerated towards its destiny, she felt the weight of countless lives on her shoulders. The cosmic storm loomed ahead, a swirling mass of destructive energy that dwarfed anything humanity had ever faced. Maria's hands shook as she gripped the controls, but her voice was steady as she addressed her crew. Whatever happens, remember this. Bravery isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what's right, even when you're terrified. Let's show the galaxy what humans, and all of us together, are truly capable of. With silent determination, the small ship carrying the galaxy's last hope plunged forward into the heart of the storm. The true test of courage was about to begin. The small ship carrying Maria Chen and her diverse crew hurtled through space, towing the massive cosmic umbrella behind it. Through the view screen, the cosmic storm loomed large, a swirling mass of colors that would have been beautiful if it wasn't so terrifying. Maria's hands were steady on the controls, but her heart raced. She glanced around the cockpit, seeing the fear in her alien crewmate's eyes. Zixera's tentacles quivered, while Krav's usually stoic face was tight with tension. We're approaching the deployment coordinates, Maria announced, her voice calm despite the fear churning in her stomach. Zixera, start the phase shift warm-up sequence. Krav, run a final check on the structural integrity. As her crew sprang into action, Maria couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. Just weeks ago, these advanced beings had looked down on humans as cowards. Now, they were working together, trusting a human to lead them on this dangerous mission. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Energy spike detected. Zixera called out, her voice trembling. The storm's outer edge is advancing faster than predicted. Maria's mind raced. They weren't in position yet, but the storm was upon them. In that moment, she made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Change of plans, she said, her voice tight but determined. We're going to manually deploy the umbrella. Krav, prepare for emergency release. Zixera, divert all power to the phase shift generators. Her crew looked at her in shock. Manual deployment. Krav rumbled. That's suicide. The energy levels will fry us before we can get clear. Maria met his gaze steadily. It's our only chance. If we don't do this now, billions will die. I'm not ordering anyone. I'll do it myself if I have to. For a moment, silence reigned in the cockpit. Then, to Maria's surprise and pride, both aliens nodded. We're with you, human, Zixera said softly. With a series of quick commands, Maria brought their ship to a halt at the very edge of the storm. The view outside was chaos, swirling energy, warped space, and flashes of light that hurt the eyes. "On my mark," Maria said, her finger hovering over the release button. She took a deep breath, thinking of Earth, of her family, of all the lives depending on them. 3, 2, 1, mark. She hit the button. The ship shuddered violently as the cosmic umbrella detached. Through the view screen, they watched as the massive structure unfurled, its complex array of energy-absorbing panels spreading out like a flower blooming in fast motion. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, as the storm's energy reached them, the umbrella sprang to life. Arcs of cosmic power danced across its surface, channeled and redirected by the complex technology they had created. Inside the ship, systems overloaded and alarms screamed. Hull integrity at 60% and falling. Krav shouted over the noise. "We need to get out of here." But Maria's eyes were fixed on the readings from the umbrella. "Not yet," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It's working. It's actually working." Indeed, before their astonished eyes, the storm's advance was slowing. The umbrella, powered by the very energy it was designed to stop, created a barrier that the cosmic tempest couldn't breach. "Zix era," Maria called. "Send the activation signal to the other umbrellas." Across the galaxy, at strategic points they had calculated, other teams deployed their own cosmic umbrellas. One by one, they came online, creating a network that caught and channeled the storm's destructive power. In the cockpit of their battered ship, Maria and her crew watched in awe as the greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced was slowly, but surely, tamed. Hull integrity critical. Crab's voice cut through the moment of triumph. "We need to evacuate now." Maria nodded, finally allowing herself to feel the fear she had been suppressing. "Plot a course out of here, maximum speed." As their ship limped away from the storm, now safely contained behind the network of cosmic umbrellas, Maria felt a mix of emotions she couldn't quite name. They had done it. Against all odds, their crazy plan had worked. The communication system crackled to life, and High Counselor Sath Kroll's voice filled the cockpit. "Representative Chen, do you copy? What's your status?" Maria looked at her battered but alive crew, at the readings showing the storm's containment, and at the stars beyond that would continue to shine. A smile spread across her face as she responded. "Mission accomplished, High Counselor. The cowardly humans and their brave alien friends just saved the galaxy." As cheers erupted both in their ship and across the comm channels, Maria finally allowed herself to relax. They had faced their fears, embraced their so-called weakness, and turned it into their greatest strength. The galaxy would never be the same again. The return journey to Nexus 7 was a stark contrast to their departure. Where fear and tension had once reigned, now there was a palpable sense of relief and excitement. Maria Chen sat in the co-pilot's seat, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, but her heart light with their success. As their battered ship approached the space station, Maria was shocked to see the view outside. Hundreds of ships from various alien races had gathered, forming an honor guard. As they passed, each ship flashed its lights in a galactic salute. "I've never seen anything like this," Krav rumbled from the pilot's seat, his gruff voice tinged with awe. Zix era, monitoring the communications, suddenly straightened. "We're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. They're cheering for us. For humans." Maria felt a lump form in her throat. After so long being looked down upon, humanity was finally being recognized, not for strength or advanced technology, but for the very trait that had once made them outcasts, their ability to face and overcome their fears. As they docked at Nexus 7, Maria was surprised to see the landing bay packed with aliens of all species. The moment the airlock opened, a deafening cheer erupted. Maria and her crew were engulfed in a sea of tentacles, claws, and appendages as grateful aliens rushed to congratulate them. High Counselor Sath Kroll's voice boomed over the commotion. Make way for the heroes of the galaxy." The crowd parted, revealing the High Counselor and the full Galactic Council. Maria felt a moment of nervousness as she approached them, remembering how dismissive they had once been. But as she got closer, she saw something she'd never expected: respect in their alien eyes. Sath Kroll stepped forward. "Representative Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council and all sentient beings, we extend our deepest gratitude. Your bravery and ingenuity have saved countless lives." Grakthor, the once contemptuous Krelnar representative, actually bowed his head to Maria. "We were wrong about humans," he admitted, his voice carrying across the silent hangar. "We mistook your caution for cowardice, your preparation for paranoia. But now we see, it is precisely these traits that made you the perfect species to face this crisis." Maria felt overwhelmed. She looked at her crew, Zixara, Krav, and the others, seeing in their faces the same mix of exhaustion and pride. "Thank you," she said, her voice strong despite her fatigue. "But this wasn't just a human victory. It was a victory for all of us, working together." A ripple of approval went through the crowd. Sath Kroll nodded solemnly. "Indeed, and it is for this reason that the Council has come to a decision." He paused, his compound eyes fixed on Maria. "We would like to offer humanity a full seat on the Galactic Council." The hangar erupted in cheers again. Maria stood in shock, barely able to process the honor being offered. A full council seat was something Earth's diplomats had been working towards for years, always being told that humans were too young, too inexperienced, too fearful for such responsibility. As the implications sank in, Maria felt a familiar flutter of fear in her stomach. A council seat meant more responsibility, more challenges, more situations that would test their courage. But now she embraced that fear, recognizing it as the force that drove humanity to innovate, to prepare, to survive. "We would be honored to accept," Maria said, her voice carrying clearly over the crowd. "And we promise to bring to the Council the same dedication and courage that helped us face the cosmic storm." As alien diplomats rushed forward to congratulate her, Maria caught sight of a news holo showing scenes from across the galaxy. She saw celebrations on countless worlds, aliens and humans embracing, and replays of the cosmic umbrella in action. But what struck her most was an image from Earth. Crowds had gathered in every major city, cheering and waving at the stars. Banners proclaimed, "Thank you, Maria," and humanity stands with the galaxy. Seeing her home, the planet once mocked as the cradle of cowards, now celebrated as the birthplace of heroes, Maria felt tears well up in her eyes. In that moment, Maria Chen realized that humanity's greatest journey was just beginning. They had proven their worth not by conquering their fears, but by teaching the galaxy the strength that comes from facing them. As she prepared to send her first message home as Earth's Council representative, Maria knew that the future, however scary it might be, was bright, and humans would face it as they always had, bravely, creatively, and together with their new galactic family. 5 years had passed since the cosmic storm crisis, and the galaxy had changed in ways few could have imagined. On the bustling streets of New Terra, the first human colony established beyond the solar system, Maria Chen walked with a sense of purpose. The buildings around her were a fascinating blend of human and alien architecture, a visual reminder of the new era of cooperation. As she entered the grand building that housed the Galactic Embassy, Maria couldn't help but smile at the banner hanging in the lobby. 5th Annual Galactic Fear Management Symposium. What had once been seen as humanity's greatest weakness was now recognized as one of their most valuable contributions to galactic society. Maria made her way to the main auditorium, where representatives from dozens of species were gathered. As she took the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. Even after 5 years, the sight of the human who had changed the course of galactic history still commanded respect and attention. "Welcome, friends and colleagues," Maria began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. 5 years ago, we faced a threat that seemed insurmountable. The cosmic storm nearly destroyed us all. But through that crisis, we learned a valuable lesson. That fear, when understood and channeled properly, can be our greatest asset. She gestured to the diverse audience before her. Look around you. Krelnar sitting next to Zorlax. Humans working alongside species we hadn't even met a decade ago. We've come so far, not by eliminating our fears, but by sharing them, understanding them, and using them to drive us forward. As Maria spoke, holographic displays came to life around the auditorium, showing the progress made in the past 5 years. The cosmic umbrellas, once a desperate last resort, had been refined and expanded into a galaxy-wide early warning system. Ships now carried miniaturized versions, allowing for safer space travel than ever before. But it wasn't just technological advances on display. Images showed mixed species crews on deep space missions, alien exchange students on Earth, and humans teaching crisis preparation classes on distant worlds. Humanity's unique perspective has proven invaluable, Maria continued. Our history of facing natural disasters, our drive to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best, these are the gifts we've brought to the galactic community. And in return, we've gained so much. She smiled as she thought of the changes on Earth. The influx of alien knowledge had accelerated human development in medicine, energy, and space travel. But more importantly, it had given humanity a new sense of purpose and unity. But our journey is far from over, Maria said, her tone becoming more serious. New challenges will always arise. Even now, our deep space probes have detected anomalies at the galaxy's edge that we don't yet understand. Some view these unknowns with fear. A ripple of unease went through the audience. Maria paused, letting the moment sink in before continuing with a confident smile. But we, humans and aliens alike, now know that fear doesn't have to paralyze us. It can motivate us to explore, to learn, to prepare. Together, we'll face whatever comes next, not fearlessly, but with the courage that comes from facing our fears head-on. As Maria concluded her speech, the auditorium erupted in applause. She saw Zixera, now Earth's ambassador to the Zorlak homeworld, waving excitedly with her tentacles. Krav, who had become one of the strongest advocates for human-Krelmar cooperation, nodded approvingly. Later, as Maria stood on the observation deck of the embassy, looking out at the stars, she felt a familiar flutter of fear in her stomach. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers they had yet to discover. But now, that fear was accompanied by excitement and determination. A small group of alien children on a school trip passed by, pointing excitedly at her. "Look, it's the brave human," one of them whispered loudly. Maria smiled and waved, remembering a time when human and brave were never used in the same sentence. As she turned back to the view, Maria's comm device beeped with a message from Earth. The United Nations was proposing a new initiative, a galactic peacekeeping force, with humans serving alongside aliens to help worlds in crisis. They wanted her to lead it. Maria felt that old fear rising up again, fear of the unknown, of the challenges ahead. But now, she welcomed it like an old friend. That fear would keep her alert, drive her to prepare, to innovate, to reach out to others. She sent back a simple reply, "I'm in. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can do." As she looked out at the stars once more, Maria Chen, once mocked as a member of the galaxy's most cowardly species, now recognized as one of its greatest leaders, felt ready for whatever the future might bring. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not by conquering their fears, but by teaching the galaxy the strength that comes from facing them together. The greatest adventure, she knew, was just beginning.